okay? I'm just checking too into the chat. So we asked, why do people want more confidence? So Sally says, step out of her comfort zone and find her highest potential. We love it. That's a great one. So keep adding some stuff in there, folks, because again, want to be able to answer your questions specifically, and especially for some laser coaching at the end of our webinar presentation tonight. So that'll be great to hear from everybody on that. All right. So let's dig right in here, folks. The reason we are here tonight is to talk about tapping into true confidence. And so we're going to talk about what true confidence is and what it isn't. Okay, the difference between true and false confidence tonight. So just want to let you know you're in the right place. If you want to make a quantum leap in your impact and your income, you're in the right place. If you want to have a strong voice in every relationship, again, you're in the right place. If you want to be in control of your own destiny, like kind of who wants that? Who wants to be in control of your own life destiny? That's a great one. And also, hey, you know, if you want to know your body is a source of wisdom rather than a source of agony, then you're again in the right place tonight. So if those things are speaking to you again, you know, just let us know. All right. Ani introduced us just really quickly. Ani Anderson, and I'm Brian Trescos. Ani and I have been kicking around the personal development space for about 20 years. We both come from the rehabilitation background. And so I know a lot of you here on the call with us tonight are OTs and PTs and massage therapists and chiropractors and, you know, people from the rehab space as well. And so the reason I mention that is because what Ani and I have really, the groundwork of the work that we've done in our life has really been able to combine and synthesize the understanding of both, I'm not going to say both body and mind, but body mind, because there was never a separation. Right? We have to realize that there was never a separation between body and mind, as much as we were taught that there was or is. So a lot of the work that we bring is kind of really body-based, body-centered understanding, and using the body understanding for transformation and personal growth and potential. Okay, so that's kind of where we come from with what we've been doing. Now tonight's goals, as Ani mentioned, we're going to talk about the number one reason why people lose their confidence to begin with. We're going to talk about how the lack of true confidence infects every aspect of your life, even the ones you think that are fine. And then we're going to talk about the 3 steps to quantum leaping confidence in any area of life. Okay, the last one is really important to really grab onto. We're going to build up to it. And when we get to that last one, you have to understand this is how to build confidence in any area of your life. There's only 3 steps to do it. They make total sense, and they are simply understandable. But there's blocks and barriers to all this stuff, which we want to help you overcome tonight, okay? All right, stay with us to the end. We're going to do some laser coaching at the end of this, be able to unmute, answer some questions specifically for you around confidence. And now I just want to mention quickly before we get rolling tonight about why confidence matters to me. And I'm going to pop out of the share to share this with you. So this is why confidence matters to me. You know, I think about my first memory. So I'm sure a lot of you out there have first memories, and I think a first memory can in a lot of ways become a defining factor for us in our lives. And so my first memory is when I was 3 years old. When I was 3 years old, my parents took my older brother and I, my older brother was 5 and I was 3 at the time, to a house that they were hoping to be able to buy. And the house was under construction. And when we got to this house, the builder took my parents off on a tour of the house and left my brother and I in the front hallway. And we found our way into the coat closet in the front hallway. And on the back of the hallway, since it was still under construction, was a furring strip, and it had some nails sticking out of it. And my brother said, "Put your finger on that nail." And so a dutiful younger brother, I put my finger on the nail, and when I put my finger on the nail, he took my hand and he pushed it into the nail further. And he didn't push it hard enough to break the skin, but it really hurt. And I still remember the whole scene. And I got this feeling from my brother that if I said anything to my parents about that, then my life would get a lot worse. Maybe you know how that feels. You know, if you know how that feels, again, just kind of let us know, like kind of pop that in the chat. Have you had that kind of experience before? Now, that experience just kind of began to grow on itself. That was just my first memory. Now, after we moved into that house, I remember being at the top of the stairs, just above that coat closet, actually, and my brother asking me, you know, kind of coercing me to put my head between my knees. And when I put my head between my knees at the top of the stairs, he rolled me down the stairs like a ball. And I remember thumping down the stairs and hitting the wall at the bottom of the stairs. And I hear my brother laughing. I can still hear him laughing. as I whacked into the wall at the bottom. I remember when I was 5 years old, and it was my first year of school. So I was in kindergarten, and my brother was the big second grader. And I was so excited to be at school and be walking to school with my brother and be waiting outside of school. And so we're waiting outside of the school on a cold winter day. And my brother convinces me to lick a frozen pole. And I don't know if you've ever done that before, but if you lick a frozen pole, your tongue sticks to the pole. So my tongue stuck to the pole, and my brother's laughing at me. My brother and his friends are laughing at me as my tongue is stuck to this pole. And somebody runs in to get the school nurse. But before the school nurse could come out, my brother took my head and he pulled it away from the pole, and all the skin got ripped off of my tongue. And my tongue's bleeding, my mouth's full of blood by the time the school nurse arrives. And what do I say? Oh, I just wanted to taste the pole. So I basically didn't ever say anything about it. And then finally, when we're in high school, and we're in a fist fight actually in the garage, and as it's heating up and we're punching each other, my brother steps back and he's like, I'm getting hot. And he pulls off this flannel shirt, and he had both arms behind his back. And I thought to myself, I could just clean his clock right now. He's defenseless. But I didn't. I said, it's not chivalrous. It's not appropriate. And so I stepped back and pulled my sweatshirt over my head. And as soon as I got my sweatshirt over my head, I saw stars. My brother took the sweatshirt, pulled it over my head, and gave me an uppercut right in the face, and I blacked out. So this was kind of like my experience growing up. And I just want to let you know, I don't have any animosity towards my brother at all, because I played a really significant part in that relationship. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that tonight. But here's kind of the thing. After my brother went to college and I went off to college, my brother wasn't a primary player in my life anymore, but I was now the primary player in my life. And you know what? I went through a string of relationships for years where I was always the one who was cheated on or stolen from or abused or whatever. And I always wondered, why me? Why me? I'm so nice. I'm giving everything I can to this person. I'm being really patient with them. It's okay that you cheated on me. It's okay. You came back, so it's all right. Right. And this was my life for actually a couple of decades. And I wondered, why, what is going on? And I finally really started to understand a little bit more about how and why this actually happens this way. See, when you're in a relationship with someone who's a dominant person, when you have any relationship, and in one part of the relationship there's a dominant person, the other side there's a submissive person, what can happen over time is that self-esteem gets eroded away, and we don't even realize it's being whittled away over time. Because it happens sometimes so subtly, or it happens in big bursts, and then it seems like it gets better for a while, and then it gets worse again or something like that. But it just kind of gets whittled away. And so we have to understand this, that when babies are born, all babies are born with the DNA survival programming, right? We're all programmed to survive, to live. And the fact is that when babies are born, what we need more than anything else is belonging. We need to belong to a tribe or a family, because that's how we get all of our needs met. Babies can't feed themselves. They can't clothe themselves. They can't toilet themselves. They can't take care of themselves. So left unattended, a baby would die in a pretty short period of time. And babies on a physiological DNA level know this. I'm not saying they consciously know this, but they know this as a survival instinct that they need belonging. So, when a baby's born, it's like I was born. And I was born consciously. My parents chose to have me, gratefully so. And I came into the house, and my parents accepted me into their house as I belonged. But my brother didn't, right? I didn't. My parents were like, you belong. But my brother's like, you don't belong here. I belong here. And I can imagine in my brother's physiology, his belonging is now threatened. There's somebody else, there's another mouth here, you're paying attention to this other little creature kind of thing. And so my brother responded to that with aggression and dominance and violence and abuse to basically get me out of his way. But here's the thing, I came into a family that had my parents and my brother. And so for me, I wanted and I needed to belong because it was an aspect of survival for me. So basically what happens over time is that, I wanted and needed my brother's love and acceptance so much because I needed to belong to survive, that I was willing to, over time, learn how to keep my mouth shut and learning how to not challenge and learning how to not upset somebody else. Because if I upset someone else, then my life will get a lot worse and I would potentially be exiled, not belong anymore, and feel like I was dying. Now, I don't know if you've ever been kicked out of the club before, but how does that feel, right? It's literally a felt state around that. So for me, why does confidence matter to me? Because, I don't want anyone to ever have to live through that experience that I lived through. And I want to really be able to help everyone I possibly can to be able to come back within themselves and reclaim the natural flow of confidence that flows through all things. I didn't become very confident myself. I learned how to tap into a source of confidence greater than myself. And that's what I want to share with you tonight, okay? All right, so this is really what we're talking about, folks. We talk about confidence. We like to say that confidence isn't something we have, it's something that we allow to flow through us. And it flows through everything in the natural world. If you look outside your window right now and you see trees and you see birds or you see squirrels, whatever it is, the thing is, squirrels don't have a problem collecting nuts for the winter, right? Another squirrel chatters at them from up in the tree. It's like, tick, 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 don't take my nuts. And they're like, what the heck, these are my nuts. They just take them. Nature doesn't have an issue with advocating for itself. Think about redwood trees, right? Redwood trees don't stop growing at 10 feet and then look up and like, you know what, I'm kind of afraid of heights, I'm not going up there. They just continue growing. There's no issue with nature doing exactly what it's meant to do. And there's this energy, there's this confidence that flows through all things, and that we have the capacity to flow through us if we know how to do it. Now, to understand, we have to talk about nature, natural laws. So let's talk about what a natural law is. And we're going to talk about 3 natural laws tonight, okay? So a natural law is a natural process that has 3 characteristics. It's omnipresent, consistent, and non-judgmental. So omnipresent. It means that a natural law is everywhere. There's nowhere that a natural law is not. Natural law, think about gravity for a second. Gravity is a great example of an aspect of a natural law, okay? So gravity is everywhere. There's nowhere that gravity isn't. The only reason that you think like, well, gravity is not in space is because in space, there's not a body for gravity to act around. But if you're around a mass, any mass has gravity associated with it. And we can just tell that it's associated with that mass rather than a space because there's no, I hope that's making sense. But gravity is everywhere. There's nowhere that gravity is not. Gravity is consistent. Gravity in China is the same as gravity in the earth. If you drop a bowling ball off the Great Tower, off the Great Wall in China, and you drop it off the Empire State Building, it's going to fall at 9.8 meters per second squared to the ground on either place. Okay, so gravity is consistent. Now, here's the really, really important one you want to understand when you start talking about natural laws, is that natural laws are non-judgmental, which means they don't care. Gravity does not care what you think about it. It doesn't care how much you know about it. If you're a little baby on a roof and you crawl to the edge of a roof line, and God forbid you go too far, the baby will fall to the ground. Now you could be a gravity scientist. You could know everything about gravity. You walk to the edge of the building, you're still going to fall down to the ground. So gravity doesn't reward ignorance. It doesn't so no natural laws reward ignorance. So a natural law is a process that's going on constantly. It's everywhere. There's nowhere it's not, and it doesn't care what you think about it. And it doesn't care if it's good or bad, right or wrong, left or right, or up and down. It's just always going to do what it does simply because it's a natural law. Okay, so those are the 3 primary aspects of what makes a natural law a natural law. Now, there are 7 primary natural laws. We're going to talk about 3 of them tonight. We're going to talk about the law of energy is. We're going to talk about the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, which we call PITO for short. And we're going to talk about the law of vibration, okay? So here are these 3 natural laws. Just give you an outline for this. The first and most primary natural law is the law that everything is energy. Energy is. And we know that from science. On a subatomic level, atoms whirring around, electrons, protons, right? We know that everything is energy. Even though you can see this cup and it looks solid, there's actually the space between the atoms in this cup are larger than the atoms themselves. And so even though something looks solid, we know that it's actually vibrating, whirring energy. We just kind of jump down to the law of vibration below. We're going to work all these together right now. Now, the law of energy is, now there's a primary modus operandi of the law of energy. And that's that all energy always moves towards more growth and evolution, more growth and evolution. So whatever is in nature, like a tree just doesn't stop growing because for the heck of it. Fish don't stop reproducing. Bears don't stop reproducing. Birds don't stop flying. So all things continue to grow towards more and more and greater states of evolution. And here's the thing. The law of energy doesn't care what it's growing into because it's non-judgmental. You might say, well, why do bad things grow in the world? Or why do things that I don't like grow in the world? It's because someone's focusing on it and creating it. It's naturally growing. We like to say, the law of energy feeds both flowers and weeds. Weeds and flowers in a garden will both grow at the same exact rate. Weeds don't go away because we want them to go away. Nature is always growing towards more evolution and growth. Now, let's talk about Pito for a second, okay? So what the law of perpetual transmutation of energy talks about is that energy always moves. It's always going towards more growth and evolution, but it's doing it in a cyclical way. It's always moving from a non-form to a form and then back to a non-form again. So think about our tree, okay? So we have an oak tree. An oak tree starts as an acorn. Now the oak tree isn't inside of the acorn, but the DNA for the oak tree is inside of the acorn. Now when we take that acorn, you put it in the proper soil and you cultivate it and you water it, it eventually will grow. The matter will grow from the acorn into an oak tree. So it's growing into larger, more evolved form. Now that's when it's in form. Now eventually that oak tree will fall over, will die and fall over. So it's going to die, it's going to fall over, and it's going to dissolve back into the earth, and all of the nutrients of that oak tree are then going to be taken up by other acorns that dropped off of it over time, which will grow again. So when that oak tree when it dissolves, and now it goes into a non-form. It's not that it's not there anymore, it's just changed form, and that form is no longer visible. So Pito is always going from a non-form into a form, okay? Hey, by the way, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, pop it in the chat. Ani will keep track of it, and we'll answer it at the end when we do the laser coaching as well, okay? All right, now the law of vibration. So this all bundles together, gang, but everything is energy and everything vibrates, okay? Everything's vibrating. And everything's vibrating at different frequencies. That's how we can tell it apart. So this mug is vibrating differently than this pen. The plastic in this pen is vibrating differently than the ceramic in this mug. That's how we can tell them apart. So everything vibrates at different frequencies. Now the frequencies at which things vibrate create different molecular structures and and different compounds and those sorts of things. And so essentially they create different patterns, okay? So the frequencies that vibrate most consistently turn into a physical structure that we can see. So this goes back to Pito again, going from form to a non-form, back to a form again, okay? So this is just a very quick outline at the law of energy, Pito, and law of vibration. And the reason I wanted to outline these really quick for you is because we want to think about how they apply to what we call the stickman, or what we call the body-mind process. So I'm going to pop out of this and go into our whiteboard, okay? Go to my whiteboard. And on the whiteboard, I'm going to draw what we just saw there. So this is called stickman. Now, stickman is from the work of Dr. Thurman Fleet. Dr. Thurman Fleet was a chiropractor in the 30s who taught other chiropractors about body-mind healing, how to heal using the body-mind. And while it's an amazing tool for that, it's also an incredible tool to understand why and how we lose confidence over time. All right, so stickman. Now, the reason I put 0 to 7 up here is because between the ages of 0 and 7 years old, our mind, specifically our subconscious mind, is completely open. And that's because between the ages of 0 and 7, our brainwave states are primarily what we call theta brainwave states. So theta brainwave states are the same brainwave states that hypnotists use when they hypnotize their subjects. And they can insert any belief into the subject's mind as long as they're in theta brainwave states. So between the ages of 0 and 7, we are in theta brainwave states all of the time. We're constantly being hypnotized. So what we like to say is any information that comes into our system between the ages of 0 and 7 goes directly into our subconscious mind. It's like a fishbowl. We're like sponges. We're just soaking everything up. So think about in your life right now, what was your life like between the ages of 0 and 7? What were your parents talking about? What were you observing? What were you hearing? What were you feeling? What were your siblings doing? What were your grandparents doing? How about your teachers? How about your friends? So the environments that we were in all of the time, this is creating what we call our belief systems or our belief programs, okay? Our belief systems or our belief programs are what are being created or dumped into our subconscious mind between the ages of 0 and 7. So whatever messaging you're getting, think about whatever primary messaging you're getting. One of the primary messages I got between the ages of 0 and 7 is that hard work is determines how worthy you are as a human being. The harder you work, the worthier you are. You know, so if you know, like kind of like any programming that you experience between the ages of 0 and 7, like pop that in the chat. We want to kind of just so we know that you're understanding kind of what I'm talking about here, so that you get a sense of that. And how we know it's a program, well, it's kind of a lot of times with the things that we defend, if you want to think about it like that too. And we're going to get to that in a minute. Now, between the ages of 0 and 7, everything is being dumped into our subconscious mind. Now, our subconscious mind also, by the way, runs our physical body. Our physiology is run by our subconscious. Right now, who's running your heart rate? Are you like every second or so going, okay, beat, 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 beat? No, your heart's beating itself. How about your breathing rate? Are you paying attention to your breathing? How about who's running your liver right now? How about your colon? Like who's digesting the stuff right now? That's all your subconscious. Have you ever driven to work? And if it's a place you've driven to work many times before, maybe you've worked there for many years and your car practically drives itself there, right? You get in the car in the morning, you get in, and then all of a sudden you get to work and you're like, how the heck did I get here? I didn't like think once about putting my foot on the brake or the gas or whatever it was. Your body, your subconscious drove you to work. So our subconscious mind runs our physiology. We like to say actually that your subconscious mind isn't actually between your ears, it's your whole body is your subconscious mind. So your subconscious is your lungs beating, it's your muscle activity, it's your reflexes, it's your vascular tone, it's everything that's cooking down here in your body. And so our subconscious is actually running our body as well. Okay, so it's running our body as well. So when we start to understand about confidence, like why we lose our confidence to begin with, this is why. We have to understand what we call trauma reflex patterns, okay? Oops. And these trauma reflex patterns happen in your body. And this is what we mean by this. This is what we mean by this, gang. Remember, between the ages of 0 and 7, everything's coming in subconsciously. But as babies, we still have a need to belong, a need to belong. So I'm thinking about my experience again with my brother. If I have a need to belong that's strong enough, that overpowers other things in my experience, like that's going to help me survive, but it's also going to create other patterns that later on in my life, like I was describing, would turn me into the victim later on. Now, how does this work? Well, the other thing that we're programmed with, that all animals are programmed with, is a physiologic motor response, or what we call a reflex, to move closer towards things that enrich it and away from things that are damaging. right? I mean, so this is like even a singular celled organism will move closer towards something that enriches it, and will move away from something that damages it, or moves closer towards pleasure and away from pain, okay? Or moves towards security and away from pain. Because security could be seen as being pleasurable, if you want to think about it that way. This is how this sometimes, not sometimes, this is how this starts to get worked in the subconscious mind of a child, of a young child. So in my case, it doesn't feel good to get pushed down a flight of stairs. It doesn't feel good to have your finger put on a nail. It doesn't feel good to have your head pulled away from a pole and have all the skin ripped off your tongue. It doesn't feel good to get punched in the face. You know, these things don't feel good. However, they feel not as bad as being exiled. That's the point. So as a young child, if my need for belonging overpowered my need for not getting punched in the face or not getting pushed down a flight of stairs, then I actually would begin to making a conscious choice to choose belonging over physical harm or over abuse. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, please pop that in the chat. And we see this again and again and again. So in an adult pattern, how would you see this? You'd see it just like in one of my experiences growing up, where one of my first girlfriends, cheated on me several times. I knew she was cheating on me. People told me she was cheating on me. The guys she was cheating on with were coming and talking to me. And I was still saying, no, this is the relationship for me. It's really important that I stay in relationship with this person. Right? I mean, so that's what I was doing. Have you ever seen a relationship where one person is obviously being abused, but they won't leave the relationship? Have you ever seen that before? So in an adult, that's just an extrapolation of what happened as a child. That as a child, we are so programmed with belonging that we started choosing to trade away our own self-esteem, trade away our own self-worth for safety. That's how we lose confidence to begin with. That's the reason why we lose confidence to begin with. Now, what the heck does this have to do with our physiology, with our bodies? It has to do with what we call developmental patterns or developmental programs. So I'm going to hop back over to here, and we have to understand chakras, gang. So let's talk about chakras for a moment. This is really, really cool stuff. So chakras from the Vedic or the yogic paradigm, a chakra is what's called is basically thought of as an energy center. Now, chakra by definition means disc. And when you actually look at the translation of chakra, it means disc. And think about disc in the form of a disc storage, like a CD or a DVD. DVDs hold energetic information. Energetic patterns are stored on a DVD. And then when you play the DVD, they are highlighted on whatever you're playing them with. Or a song is an energetic pattern held on a CD. So chakras are essentially energetic storage areas in our physiology, and they are based on the developmental patterns. So the first chakra is developed between the womb and 12 months. The second is between 6 months and 2 years. The third between 18 months and 4 years. The fourth between 4 and 7 years. I'm going to stop there for a second and just highlight that the first 4 chakras are developed when we are purely subconscious beings. The first 4 chakras are developed when we are purely subconscious beings. And so we don't have any conscious say-so about how our first 4 chakras are developed. Whoa. And especially when you start beginning to think about that those 4 chakras, they will command and control all of our physiological responses. Fascinating. Now let's talk about chakras just a little more for a second. Now, a lot of people think chakras are kind of this woo-woo, amorphous, energy center kind of thing. And they're not. Chakras are actually anatomical and physiological structures. Chakras are associated with what we call neural plexes. There are 7 or 6 primary neural plexes in our body. Way down low, we have the pelvic plexus, which is the first chakra. The second chakra is the sacral plexus. The third chakra is the solar plexus. The fourth chakra is the cardiac plexus. The fifth chakra is the cervical plexus. And the sixth and seventh chakra have to do with the brain. Now, what a neural plexus is, if you look at your spinal cord, you have nerves coming off of the spinal cord. And in these areas of the spinal cord, the nerves come off in big bunches, almost like if you're looking at a tree. If you're looking at a tree and it had branches come off and then the branches grew together to form a larger limb, that's essentially what a neural plexus is. Now, because nerves are electrical, they transmit electricity. When there are neural plexes, there's more material to transmit electricity. So there's more energy associated with neural plexes than in individual nerves that are associated with your body. Now, these neural plexes are also associated with different hormone areas and different endocrine structures in your body as well. So they're known to help balance the flow of energy and information in our physiology. And these chakras, remember, are developed, like the first four chakras are developed while we are completely subconscious beings. So what this means is that the energy, the electrical information that is triggering our motor activity, our muscle activity, and not only our skeletal muscle with how we're moving, but also the smooth muscle in our colon, in our bladder, in our gut, around our heart. All of those smooth muscles are being activated by reflexive patterns associated with how our chakras were developed over time, okay? And so this is what it has to do with our physiology. So let's kick back to our stickman for just a second here, gang. So this is how a lack of true confidence is undermining everything in your life, whether you realize it or not. Because after the age of seven, I'll draw it for you first and then we'll come back and I'll show you on that board. After the age of 7, gang, the conscious mind comes into play. So we like to say we get a little cap. Now the conscious mind can do two things. It can either accept or reject new ideas, okay? It can either accept or reject new ideas. By the way, the subconscious mind can only accept new ideas. We already talked about that. It's like a fishbowl, right? New ideas or new things that are happening can just get dumped right into the subconscious. Now, the conscious mind can also reject, but it can also accept if it chooses to do so. All right, now the conscious mind caps the subconscious at the age of 7. But here's the thing. The beliefs are still running the physiology, okay? So if you have an X belief in your subconscious, you're going to have an X belief running your physiology as well. And then that's going to create what we call an X result in your life. You're going to create a result in your life that way. So I like to ask people this question. Does anybody here want to know what's going on in your subconscious mind? I know it's dark down there. I know it can get a little scary, but if you want to know what's going on in your subconscious mind, just go ahead and pop it in the chat. Just give me a yes or no. And if it's a no, you can just go ahead and pause out, just mute me for a little while and then come back. Okay, so who wants to know? Okay, so Jen says yes, yes. Okay, great. Okay, so people want to know. So here's the answer. It's not that hard. You don't have to go rooting around deep in there. Here's the thing, and this is going to sting a little bit, gang. But the one way we always know what's going on in our conscious mind is look at the results you have in your life. That's it. Just look at your life results. And especially look at the results in your life that you don't like. That's the part that stings, I know. You know, so looking at me, that result I was getting of being in relationships where I kept coming out as the loser in the relationship, I mean, I was creating that life result. I was the constant in that whole experiment. I was the constant. And so the way we look at it, gang, is, you know, the energy that grows everything. Remember, there's an energy that grows everything, and it doesn't care what it grows. There's an energy that grows everything. And that energy is being filtered through our subconscious mind, okay? What we like to say through our beliefs, through our values and our habits in our subconscious mind, which is our body, by the way. And it's creating what we call results. So I'm just going to circle over here. Results, circumstances, and environments. So if you look in your life, you look at your life results, you're programmed to get those life results. So whether the life results are you never have enough money in the bank, whether the life results are you can't find the relationship that you really feel like you want, whether your relationship results are that you can't hold a job, whether your relationships are that you can never find the partner that you want. I mean, you know what they are, right? You know what your relationships are that you don't like in your life. And you have been programmed to get those results. And I know how awful that sounds, but that's the truth, folks. And it's a terrible truth, but I think knowing the truth is better than not knowing the truth, because then we can actually do something about it. So just a really quick roundup here for a moment, gang, that the beliefs that are running in our subconscious mind are going to keep recirculating themselves again and again and again and again. And they do it on autopilot. We don't have to try to get the results. Like, you don't have to try to get the results that you don't want in your life. Like, they're out there, right? They just keep showing up every single day. They're there again and again and again. So our beliefs are going to keep creating the same results, circumstances, and environments. Now, at the same time, our subconscious mind accepts all new programming or all new beliefs. So you might think to yourself, well, if my beliefs generate my results, then why don't I just create a new belief? That's a really good idea. But your subconscious has a defense mechanism to creating new beliefs. Because remember, you were also programmed with the idea that the beliefs that got you to age 7 are the beliefs that are going to keep you alive for the rest of your life. Okay, we're also programmed with that. Your subconscious basically says, oh my God, thank God we're at age 7, good. Just keep doing what you've been doing up till now and you'll live. Because it's about survival. It's not necessarily about evolution and growth from the child's perspective. It's just about surviving. So the conscious mind also has a way to defend against new belief systems coming in. And the two primary defenses are thinking and sensations, And sensations are the dominant defense mechanism, okay? They're dominant defense mechanism. Because I can tell you this, even as an adult, when I finally confronted my brother, when I finally confronted him about how I felt about our relationship when we were kids, even as an adult, I was jelly-legged. Like, my legs were wobbling and my gut was like turning and I felt like I was going to throw up. Why? Why the heck is that? Because I was programmed, remember, that as long as I kept my mouth shut, I would survive and live. Have you ever had that experience? Pop that in the chat. Have you ever gone to advocate for yourself, to stand up for yourself, to ask for a raise, to confront a spouse about something, or a child or a parent? Have you ever done that and literally your body gives out on you? Your back goes out, you feel like you're gonna throw up, right? You have butterflies until you're nauseous. Has that ever happened to you? Those are sensations. And so that is one of the primary ways that your body, your subconscious, defends against new programming. Because how many times have you then got nauseous and you didn't follow through with what you said you were going to do? I'm going to have that conversation with that person. I'm going to talk to them. You get sick to your stomach and you don't have the conversation. So that was again, your subconscious now helping you to choose giving away your self-esteem rather than reclaiming your self-esteem. That's essential. So after the age of 7, gang, we don't have to do this to ourselves. No one else has to do this anymore to us, because we're doing it to ourselves. Now, especially if you were programmed with what we call worthlessness. And I broke this up into 2 words down here for a very specific reason, because if you were programmed with worthless, what that means is that you will make other people's needs more important than your own. So if you're making other people's needs more important than your needs, I would highly ask you, like, with all love and compassion, take a very close look at your self-confidence, at how confident you actually are. Because when we're programmed with worthlessness, What we'll do, gang, is we will be in either or mentality. We'll say it's either me or them. It's either them or me. And so I'm going to choose them because their needs are more important than my needs. Now, for people who have tapped into true confidence, when people have tapped into true confidence, it's not either or anymore, it's both. They say, I can have it and they can have it. And, you know, this can be spending money. Like lots of times, you know, people don't spend money because, well, I have to, like, I can't spend it on me because I gotta save money for the kids, or I have to have it for my husband, or I have to have it for my spouse, or I got to give that money to my sister or whatever. I can't spend it on me. That's an either or, right? So that's where it also shows up as well. Or I can't take time for myself because then it's taking time away from somebody else, right? Have you ever had that experience before? If you've had that conversation in your head, then you are making either or thinking. You're not tapping into true confidence, because true confidence is that everybody wins. Look out into nature. You know, if man didn't get in the way, nature would balance itself out perfectly. There'd always be plenty of nuts for all the squirrels. There'd be plenty of water for all the fish. There'd be plenty of trees for every owl to park its butt in, right? I mean, anywhere in the world. So that's tapping into true natural confidence, okay? And so we start talking about what we call the SBMC pyramid, sensation-based motivation pyramid. That at the bottom of it all, gang, are our sensations. Our sensations drive everything. Our sensations drive how we think. Our sensations then drive the words we use, and our sensation drives the actions that we take. And so if we're going to take really good, powerful, confident actions in our life, we really have to learn how to begin leveraging our body mind at the level of our sensory capacities, okay? All right, now, so far we've talked about why people lose confidence. We've also talked about why true confidence is eroded if the ones that you think that are fine, because the beliefs are still running the programs and giving you all of your results no matter what. All right, now remember, if you stay with us all the way to the end, we're gonna do some laser coaching. All right, last question of the night, gang. These are the 3 steps to quantum leap your confidence in any area of your life. The first thing you have to do is identify the first thing that you need to do, okay? And so you have to identify the first thing you need to do to get the outcome you really want. Now, the second thing you need to do is to do the thing that's been identified. The third thing is to holistically accept evidence that the thing has been done. Simple, right? Right? That's pretty simple. Identify the thing, do the thing, accept the thing. Makes sense. However, this is where people run into problems. Most people pick the wrong thing to do, right? So in the first, and we're gonna walk you through a little case study in just a little bit of how we helped someone walk through this in a way that really made a big impact in her life. But in a case like this, most people pick the wrong thing to do. You know, an example, some people say, you know, I really want to grow my business. And we say, what's the first thing you should do? They say, I'm going to go build my website. Nope, that's not the first thing you should do if you want to grow your business. Okay, so most people think that it is, but it's not. Now, do the thing that has been identified. Now, once you help people pick the right thing to do, okay, like have that conversation with your brother about being abused when you're a kid, most people don't know how to tap into the source of confidence that's beyond your current or local experience. Now, what does that mean? Your current level of confidence has gotten you the results that you've gotten so far in your life. The current level of confidence that you have right now will not get you better results. So you have to know how to tap into a level of confidence beyond your current level and beyond your local experience, which means your embodied experience, because confidence comes, like you feel it in your body, don't you? When you're really confident, you feel it in your body. And when you're not confident, you feel it in your body, and then you stop doing the thing that you said you were going to do. Now, the third one is to accept evidence that the thing has been done. Now, most people reject or don't allow their success to fully land. They don't allow the success to fully land in their body. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with where we identify the right thing, they do the thing, and then they come back and I say, do you just see that you did that thing? And they're like, what are you talking about? What thing? I'm like, you did the thing that we identified. How do you feel? They're like, well, you know, I was lucky, or or, you know, this happened, or they just brush it off. They don't really let it land. Or if I say, hey, do you feel like you did that thing? And they're like, oh, no, oh, don't even talk about it. Oh my God, it just feels sick to me, right? They just don't let it land. So you have to be able to do these three things, but there are these little problems with this each place along the way. So if you've had any of these experiences, folks, if you have any of these experiences and you want to have a different experience, I'm just going to take a moment just to tell you about a program we have coming up called Triple Your Confidence in Less Than 30 Days. Now, the Triple Your Confidence program